So in this video, we are going to learn how to create or update QuickBooks customer for new Stripe payment. So if you use Stripe as a payment gateway and QuickBooks as an invoicing application, this automation is going to help you a lot. So in this automation, whenever we are going to capture a new payment in our Stripe account, first we are going to search for the customer who made the payment in our QuickBooks account. If we find that customer, if that customer already exists in QuickBooks, in that case, we are going to update that customer in our QuickBooks account with the latest details which we have received from Stripe. And if in case the customer does not exist in our QuickBooks account, in that case, we are going to create a new customer in QuickBooks with the same details which we have received from Stripe. If you want to know how you can set up this automation, for that, you just have to come with me to my screen.
So as you can see, here we are on Pabbly Connect's dashboard. Now to reach this dashboard, you will get a free sign-up link of Pabbly Connect in the description box below. By clicking on that link, you can create your free Pabbly Connect account in just 2 minutes. And after reaching to this dashboard, just click on Create Workflow and give this workflow a name. For example, I would like to name my workflow as Stripe to QuickBooks. And then just click on Create. Now you can see that our workflow is open over here. And in this workflow, we have 2 different windows. First one is the trigger window and second one is the action window. So triggers and actions are basically those 2 concepts, those 2 principles on which this whole automation works on, where the trigger says when this happens and the action says do this. So let's begin with the trigger window. Now the idea here is, first, we have to connect our Stripe account with Pabbly Connect in the trigger window, so that every time we receive a new payment in Stripe, the details of the same payment will be received inside our Pabbly Connect workflow as well, and then this automation workflow will trigger, it will start. Then after that, after getting the new payment details, we will get the details of the customer who is making the payments. So in the next step, first, we are going to search for that customer in our QuickBooks account, that the customer is already added in our QuickBooks account or not. If we already have that customer in our QuickBooks account, then we are just going to update the latest details from this payment to that customer's details. But just in case that customer is not added in our QuickBooks account, then we are going to add that user, add that customer as a new customer in QuickBooks. So this is the whole process which we are going to automate in this video. So let's see how we are going to start. So here in our trigger window, in Choose App, search for Stripe and select it. After selecting Stripe in trigger event from this drop-down, select the trigger event as New Charge, because we want to get the details of a new charge, of a new payment from Stripe. After selecting our trigger event, Pabbly Connect gave us a webhook URL. Now using this webhook URL, we are going to connect our Stripe account with Pabbly Connect and get the details of a new payment which we receive. So what we have to do, we just have to follow the help text given below over here. We have to add this webhook URL in our Stripe account. So to add it, just copy this webhook URL from here and go to your Stripe account. Here you can see that right now I am in the test mode of my Stripe account. If you want, you can set up this automation in test mode and then you can actually take this automation into your live account. So here guys, we are in the test mode, and then after coming to a Stripe account, just go to developers section and then go to webhooks. After coming to this webhooks page, click on this add endpoint button. After clicking on endpoint, here the first thing it asks us is the endpoint URL. Now here in this endpoint URL section, we have to paste the exact same webhook URL which we have copied from Pabbly Connect. Just copy it from here and then paste it over here. After pasting the endpoint, if you want, you can add some description to it as well. Then let's come down, and here we have an option to select events to listen to. So here we will click on the select event button, and in this drop down, here you can see a list of different events over here. Now here Stripe is asking us that for which particular event or which particular events we want Stripe to send data to Pabbly Connect. So the help text over here says we have to select the event as charge.succeeded. We want to get the data for this particular event from Stripe inside Pabbly Connect. So from this drop down under charge, we have to select charge.succeeded as the event. And then just click on add event button. Click on add endpoint, and this is it. We have successfully added a webhook URL in our Stripe account, and we have selected the event as charge.succeeded. This means whenever a successful payment will be received on our Stripe account, the details of that payment will be sent by Stripe to Pabbly Connect. Now here guys, in our Pabbly Connect workflow, you can see that it is showing us waiting for webhook response. This means Pabbly Connect is waiting to get some data, some response from Stripe of a new payment. So we are just going to make a test payment on our Stripe payment page. We will go to Stripe, Payments and Payment Links. Here you can see that a list of all the payment links which I have created in my Stripe account can be seen over here. Out of all of this, I have this payment link of webinar on YouTube marketing. Let's select this particular payment link or this particular payment page, copy the link and paste it in a new tab. So this is the checkout page, the payment page using which I'm collecting the payments. Now at this payment page, I'm asking the customer some details. So let me enter some details over here. For example, let's enter the email address of the customer. This is the email. This is the name, demo user. Then let's add a street or address over here. A10, for example, Old Street. Just some dummy details over here. So it is Mumbai. This is the PIN code. Let's select the state and the dummy mobile number. So here guys, in this window, we are going to enter the details of a dummy customer over here. So here after entering these details, let's enter the details of a test card as well. So this is the test card, this is the month and this is the CVV. Click on pay. So just now guys, using the details of a dummy customer and making a payment using the test card, we just made a test payment on one of our Stripe payment page. After making this test payment, because we have connected our Stripe account with Pabbly Connect, here we will see in our Pabbly Connect workflow in this trigger window, we have received the response for the same payment. In this response, you will see the first thing which we have is the type. And here in type, you can see the type for which, the event for which we have received this response, that is charge.succeeded. Then here you can see the request ID. Then here you can see the object as event. We have this event ID as well. We will scroll down further. Here you can see the status, that is succeeded, that the payment has been succeeded. Then we will scroll down. Then here you can see the details of the customer who made the payment. This was the name, this is the state, PIN code, street 2, street 1 address, country and city as well. We will scroll down further and we will see some other details for this same payment. Like here you can see the details of the card using which we made the payment. Then here you can see some other details. Once again, we will scroll down and here you can see once again the details of the customer and the payment details too. And here you can see the amount for which the customer has payment, object amount. Now you will notice in Stripe guys, here we made a payment of 999 rupees. But here in response inside Pabbly Connect, you will notice we have received a response of 99,900 rupees over here in amount. Now this is because if you completely see this amount, we have 999.00. We have a decimal in this amount. But while sending the data via the webhook to Pabbly Connect, Stripe does not support the decimal value. That is the reason guys, here you can see that the decimal has been eliminated and we have received the response. We have received the amount as 999 and then we have 2 extra zeros that was supposed to be after the decimal. So here guys, we have extra 2 zeros of the last unit of the currency after the decimal. That's why this amount is showing us 99,900. If you want using that number formatter or text formatter in the next step, you can actually correct this amount value as well. So here guys, the step 1 of setting up this automation is completed. We have successfully connected our Stripe account with Pabbly Connect in such a way that whenever we receive a successful payment in Stripe account, automatically the details of that payment with the details of the customer who made the payment, we will be receiving inside Pabbly Connect. Now after this, what we wanted to do, first we wanted to check that the details of the customer which we have received over here, means the customer who made the payment, does that customer already exist in our QuickBooks account? So first we have to check that do we have this customer in our QuickBooks account or not. For that, just scroll down, come to our action window and here in choose apps, search for QuickBooks. Just select it. And after selecting QuickBooks Online, an action event from the drop down, we have to search for an action event that is search customer. So we will just scroll down and we'll search for that particular action event. That is search customer. Find customer. Here it is. Just select this action event, click on connect and select add new connection. Now here guys, we have to connect our QuickBooks account with Pabbly Connect. And to make this connection, just click on this connect with QuickBooks Online button. Now guys, because I have already logged into my QuickBooks account in my browser, Pabbly Connect will detect the same account over here. and then it will make the connection with the same account. After making this connection, the only thing it asks us is the email address. That what is the email address of the customer whose details we want to find. That what is the email address of the customer to whom we want to search inside our QuickBooks account. So we have received the email address of the customer who made the payment from Stripe responses. So what we have to do? We have to basically map the same response of customer email over here in this field of email address. And guys, the process of mapping is very simple. Simply click on this field and here in this drop down, you can see a list of all the responses which we have received from Stripe. And out of all of these responses, select the response of customer email and it will be mapped. So we'll just search for that response. Here it is, customer email. Just select it and this email address will be mapped over here. After mapping this email address, just click on Save and Send Test Request. Now when we click on Save and Send Test Request, here you can see that we have received some response. And in this response, you can see the details of the contact whose email address we have mapped over here. So we have selected the action event, that is find customer. So that if the customer is already added in our QuickBooks account, then in that case, in response, we will get the details of the customer. So if the customer is added, we will get the details. And here in this response, you can see the details of this exact same customer. So in our QuickBooks account, we'll just go here. We'll just go to the customer and lead section. And then yes, here you can see that demo user, this customer with the same email address is already added in our QuickBooks account. So we had two conditions. Either using this email address, a customer is already added. In that case, we just wanted to update the details of this customer with the details which we have just now received from Stripe. So we have to basically update the details in this condition when we have this customer. We already have this customer in QuickBooks. And we have another condition. We had the second route or the second condition in this automation that if the customer does not exist with the email address or the customer who made the payment on Stripe does not exist or is not added in our QuickBooks account. In that case, we wanted to add a new customer. So here guys, you can see we have two different conditions, two different branches, two different routes in this automation workflow. Now here in the next step, what we have to do, we have to use a feature, a module of Pabbly Connect that is called router. And using router, we are going to create two different routes in this same automation workflow. So let's see how it is done. Click on this Add Action Step button and then here in Choose Apps, select Router. After selecting Router by Pabbly, here you can see that by default, two routes are added. If you want to add multiple routes, if you want to add more routes, just click on this Add Route button. And in this way, you can keep on adding as many routes as you want in this automation workflow. But right now, we have only two routes. Route 1 will be for the condition that if the customer exists, then using the route 1, we are going to update the details of the customer. And route 2 will be for the condition that if the customer does not exist in our QuickBooks account, then using route 2, we are going to add the customer who made the payment on Stripe as a new customer in QuickBooks. So let's see how we set up this route and how we use this router feature. So by default, we have two routes and we also wanted two routes only. So let's select route 1. Let me rename it as customer exist. Just select it and click on update. So I have named this route as customer exist and I'm going to name the route 2 as customer does not exist. And click on update. So let's set up our route 1 and click on this set filter and action step. Now when we click on set filter and action step, the first thing it asks us is the filter. So here guys, we have to add a filter condition. And only if that filter condition is fulfilled, only in that case, our automation workflow will be executed by this particular route. So here guys, we have a condition, we have to set up a condition. Now, as I told you, we will get back to our step 2 of find customer. And I told you that the email address which we are receiving from Stripe of a customer, if the customer is already added in our QuickBooks account, in that case, we will get these details of the customer. And if the customer is not added, then in that case, we won't be getting any response over here. This means here guys, you can see that we have received the details of this customer, like the customer ID, customer name, email address, and all the details. So here guys, in these responses, we have this response of customer ID. Here you can see the customer ID of this particular customer. So what we are going to do, If the customer exists, then we will be receiving this response of customer ID. And if the customer does not exist, in that case, we won't be receiving this customer ID. So here guys, we are going to add a filter condition in our root one of customer exists, that if we get this response of customer ID from QuickBooks after finding this customer, in that case, we want to continue this automation workflow with root one. And just in case after finding for this customer using this email address, if we don't find this customer ID in response, in that case, we will understand that this customer does not exist in our QuickBooks account, and this automation workflow will be executed via route 2 and a new customer will be added. So let's set up this filter condition. We'll start with customer exists, set filter and action step. In select label from this drop down, here you can see a list of all the responses which we have received from previous step. Out of all of this, here guys, from this drop down, we are going to select this response of query response customer 0 ID. Just select this response in select label, select this label. The filter type will be exist. So from this drop down, select the filter type as exist and click on save and send test request. So right now in the first route, we have added a filter condition that if we get the customer ID in response of find customer step, then this automation workflow will be executed via this route. So we have added the filter condition and it is showing us the condition is true. Because the response which we have captured, in that response, we have received the customer ID. Now in that case, what we wanted to do, we just wanted to update the customer details. For that, just click on this add action step button and then here in choose app, search for QuickBooks. Once again, select QuickBooks Online. And then this time in action event, we have to select the action event as update customer. So we'll just search for it. Update a customer. Just select this action event. Click on connect. Now, because we have connected our QuickBooks account with Pabbly Connect in the previous step, we don't have to make a new connection. You can select the existing connection and click on save. After clicking on save, the first thing it asks us is the customer ID. That what is the customer ID of the customer whose detail we want to update. So we have received this customer ID in find a customer action step on which we have added this filter condition. So we have to map this same customer ID over here in this customer ID field. And guys, here to map this data, just turn this mapping button on and clear the default response. After that, in this drop down, as I told you, you can see a list of all the responses from previous step. So from the responses of QuickBooks Online find a customer, we are going to map the response of customer ID. So we'll just search for it. Here it is. This is the response. Just select it and map it over here. After mapping the customer ID, it is asking us for the sync token. So we have also received the sync token of this customer in this QuickBooks Online response. We will just search for it. Sync token. Just search for it in here. And then here from QuickBooks Online responses, map the response of sync token over here as well. Then it is asking us for the name of the customer, like the given name, middle name, family name, all of these details. So here guys, if you want, you can update the name of the customer with the name which we have received from Stripe. But here guys, I just don't want to update the name and the email address of the customer because we know the name of the customer will be the same. Then after that, here it is asking us some other details like company name, phone number, email, and all of those things. So I'll just map the email address from here. So from the drop down, from Stripe responses, the email address of the customer which we have received from Stripe payment, we are going to map that email address over here. After mapping the email address, it is asking us for the address. So one by one, we have received the address details as well. So I'm going to map the address details over here in the respective field too. So in this way, the address of the customer which I will be receiving while receiving the Stripe payment, that address will be updated for that particular customer in QuickBooks as well. Then let's add the state. So billing country, here it is, the country is India. And at last the postal code. So just search for it and map it. In this way, after billing address, if you want, you can update the shipping address as well over here. So in this way, all the details of a customer which we receive from Stripe, we can map all of these details in their respective field and update that details with the latest details of the customer in our QuickBooks account. After mapping all the required details, what we have to do, we just have to click on Save and Send Test Request. Now, when we click on Save and Send Test Request, you can see that we have received some response. And this response seems to be a positive response to us. This response shows that the data which we have mapped over here, this data has been updated to this particular customer having this customer ID. Means the customer which was already existed, the customer using which we made the payment for that customer, this details will be updated. So let's check it. We'll go to QuickBooks, and here right now this is the current billing address of this customer, and we have updated the billing address of the customer over here using this action step. So we will just refresh this customer's contact page once. And yes, here you can see that the details of this customer are not changed. Earlier the address was something else, but using this action, the same address which we have received from Stripe while receiving the payment, the same address has been updated on this customer's profile on our QuickBooks account. This means this particular route of our automation workflow is working perfectly fine. So if the customer who made the payment already exists in our QuickBooks account, in that case, we are going to update the customer details. So the first route is successfully created. Now let's set up the second route. In second route, we had the condition that the customer does not exist. So if the customer does not exist, then we won't be getting this customer ID in this find a customer action step. So we are going to add a filter condition of customer ID does not exist. So like we did for the previous route, we are going to select the same label of customer ID from QuickBooks find a customer action step. Here it is. And this time the filter type will be does not exist. So if the customer ID, the response of customer ID does not exist in the second step, then in that case, this automation workflow will be continued with this route. Let's click on save and send test request. Now for the response which we have captured over here in the step 2, the customer ID do exist. That's why it is showing us the condition is false. This means this filter condition is working perfectly fine. After this, let's click on this add action step button, and here in choose app, we are going to search for QuickBooks, because if the customer does not exist in QuickBooks, we wanted to add the same customer over there. So we'll just search for QuickBooks. Just select it. And then in action event from the drop down, select the action event as create a customer. Click on connect and then select the existing connection and click on save. Now when we click on save, we will see our QuickBooks account will get connected Pabbly Connect once again with this action step. After connecting this, it is asking us some details of the same customer. So here we have to enter the display name, the given name, first name, last name, all of these details. So we have received all of these details of a customer who made the payment on Stripe inside Pabbly Connect. So one by one, we are going to map these details. So here in this field, we are going to map the name of the customer. After this, we will scroll down. Then we will be having the field of mobile number. Then we will be having the field of email address. Just click here. And then here from Stripe responses, select the response of the email address of the customer and map it to. So we will just scroll down and map the email address. Then after this, it is asking us the address of this customer. So we'll just click here. From Stripe responses, the address which we have received, we are going to one by one map that same address. So address line 1 is mapped in address line 1. Then let's map the address line 2. So from this drop down, here's the response of line 2. Then let's map the city. So from this drop down, select the response of city. Then we are going to map the country. Select the country as India. And at last, the postal code. So from this drop down, select the response of postal code and map it to. After mapping the address, if you get some other details of this customer from your Stripe payment page, you can map those details as well over here, like the tax registration number, CST UTR registration number, and all the other details. And after mapping all of these details, just select the preferred payment method. I'll just select credit card and then click on save and send test request. So here guys, after clicking on save and send test request, it is giving us a response that the duplicate name exists error, that the customer with the same name and email address already exists. So the response which we have captured was of a dummy customer. This is the name dummy user, demo user, and then this was the email address of this customer. And we saw this customer already do exist in our QuickBooks account. That is why using this action event of create a customer, it has given us a response that the duplicate customer already exists. This means this action step is successfully created. Now, whenever we will receive the payment from a customer, from a user who is not added as a customer in our QuickBooks account, automatically using this automation, that user will be added as a customer in our QuickBooks account. So here guys, we have successfully created this automation workflow. Now after setting this up, we have to just test this automation workflow once. I'll just go to my Stripe payment page, and this time I'm going to make another test payment, and this time we are going to change the details of the customer. For example, this is the email address of the customer, test@pabblytudes.com. Then let's add a name as test user. Then I want the address to be, for example, new apartment. The city is Delhi. The PIN is, this is the zip code. State is Delhi. And then let's add a dummy mobile number over here. Then after this, let's add the test card details to make that payment. And CVV. Click on pay. So just now on our Stripe payment page, we have added the details of a new customer, a new test customer. And this customer was not added in our QuickBooks account. But after this guys, after setting up this automation, we will see as we receive this payment from this customer, automatically, if the customer does not exist in our QuickBooks account, this customer will be added over here. So here you can see that test user. This customer was not earlier existed in our QuickBooks account, but now the same name, same email address, and with the same address, this customer is now added in our QuickBooks account. And just in case we make a payment with the customer who already exists in our QuickBooks account, then in that case, the details of that customer will be updated with the latest details which we receive from Stripe using this automation. So here guys, we have tested this automation in real time, and this automation workflow is working perfectly fine. So not just these applications, you can connect plenty of other applications with Pabbly Connect. And one more important thing, you will find the clone link of this exact same workflow in the description box below. By clicking on that link, you can clone the same workflow into your own Pabbly Connect account and use this automation workflow for free. Also, let me tell you, Pabbly Connect offers you a free plan. And in this plan, you will get some free tasks every month into your own Pabbly Connect account. So if you want to try and test this automation, you can do it for absolutely free.
If you have any kind of doubts or queries, you can post them on forum.pabbly.com. So if this video was helpful to you, you can obviously like this video, comment down to your suggestion, and don't forget to share it with others. So guys, that's it for today's video. Thank you. Have a great day.